Well, hey guys, it's Viejo here, and we're near the end of the first week of May here in 2024. We're kind of into the foggy morning, windy afternoon season here on the central coast of California. That's kind of standard procedure around these parts. Wind's howling outside right now. It's late afternoon. But this is episode 7 or chapter 7 of our 45 ACP 230 grain round nose test that we've been working on. And what we're doing, if you're just tuning in, the first 2 pieces of this are in the playlist that's linked in the description box below. You can go check out those first 2 videos. Kind of explains what we're doing. But in a nutshell, we're looking at data from Richard Lee's reloading manual, 2nd edition. And that data field for 230 grain lead bullets does not specify what bullet they used. We know that Lee has gleaned that data from other sources, other published sources, but they don't clue us in as to what specific bullet that was. So we're trying to take a look and say, well, what about if I use my bullet that doesn't have any published data anywhere, or maybe it is published? Can I just use Lee's data for any 230 grain bullet and go for it? Because there's a whole bunch of powders listed and stuff. And they also list in that manual 3 different cartridge overall lengths. So which one do you use? Can you use any of them? And I think if you've been following, you kind of know the answer to that by now. And the answer to that's no, you really can't just pick an overall length that's in that data section if you don't know what bullet that is. Every reloader has to establish a cartridge overall length for a particular bullet that's going to perform and function in his or her firearm. Okay, so I've come up with overall lengths that I know are going to work in this firearm. This is the one we used for the entire test, the Kimber Stainless 2 45 ACP 1911. All the rounds were shot through this same firearm. And we're getting some varying results. Okay, cartridge overall length, some of them are close, some of them are not even close to each other. Not only that, but none of these bullets weigh exactly 230 grains. None of the cast bullets. At the end of the test, we're going to take a look at some jacketed and plated rounds also, just for comparison's sake. But so, and they all have, you know, different dimensions, the bullets do, so there's just a lot of parameters here. So what I did was I selected a powder charge of Winchester 231, okay, kind of from within the framework of what Lee was suggesting for Winchester 231, not at the bottom and nowhere near the top. And since a lot of this is not published data exactly, I'm not going to tell you exactly what it is, but it's in the 5 grain range. And all the cast bullets were sized to .451 because that's what works in this gun. You might want to be sizing yours at .452 or even .450. Okay, that's up to you. So, and with each test, I shot 14 rounds, chronographed them, okay, put them on paper, and we're going to show you how this particular one from NOE did. So again, this is the NOE 452-234 round nose, a slick-sided or HTC style bullet. So, and you can see them right here. Okay, here's what the bullet looks like in the little kind of video thing that's going up there in the picture-in-picture. That's the bullets. They weighed 236 grains as cast again. Okay, .668 overall length of the bullet. Let's come down and take a look at the data page. Here's our data page so far. Sorry for the glare, we got weird lighting out here, but we're down here at the NOE 452-234 round nose. This is a high-tech style or slick-sided bullet. Okay, they were done with Eastwood Red Wagon powder coat. Okay, our weight as cast was 236 grains. Length of the bullet overall, 0.668 inches. and they ended up wanting to be seated at 1.255. Okay, and again, I've shot these bullets before, so kind of knew where they were going to need to be seated in order to function. With the load we're using, we got right in the ballpark of where we wanted to be, between 800 and 850 feet per second or so for a 230 grain ACP bullet. Standard deviation was nothing to write home about, though. So that bullet, didn't particularly like that load. A little bit slow, I think, but further testing on your part might tell at some point, but for now, that's where we are. Okay, so there's the data. You can see how this particular bullet, compares to the rest of them that we've already shot. And again, their velocities are coming in all where I had sort of expected them to. I'm sure there'll be some surprises here or there because we're not done yet. And, quite a bit of variation in our standard deviations. Some rounds this firearm liked, other ones that didn't at the charge weight that we're using. So, there's that charge weight versus bullet versus firearm. All three of those things need to kind of knit together to get really good performance. Sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. So let's go ahead and take a look at the shooting so you can see how this particular one did on paper. NOE. And then here's our NOE target. The red dot came off. I got one way up there high. That was a flinch on my part, I'm sure, but the rest of them are all in there pretty good. Not too bad. There you go. Then, it shot pretty well. I had that one flyer up there kind of high, and I'm pretty sure that was just me. It happens. But the rest of them were all in there. That circle's a 4-inch circle there. So, I don't know, what was that, a 3-inch group maybe? Might have been closer to 4, but anyway, it wasn't bad shooting for me. That's certainly within my range of performance for my own part of this mix that we're trying to put together here. So I was actually pretty happy with this one, other than the standard deviation, okay, which was 13.3. And again, we had 829 feet per second. Average velocity kind of right in there. I think this one would have done better if we'd upped that charge a little bit for this particular bullet. Again, standard deviation doesn't tell us a whole lot. It doesn't say anything really about accuracy, although they can be related. But it tells us that the consistency of the muzzle velocity was not all that great. Okay, we like to have single-digit standard deviation if we can get there. It's not horrible. Standard deviation of 13 is not horrible for relatively close-in target shooting. It's acceptable, I guess, but barely. All right, I hope you got something out of that. Maybe you can take a look and see how these different bullets are performing one against the other, as close to comparable conditions all the way down the line here. We loaded them on the same press, loaded them with the same dyes, the same powder charge, same primers, trying to keep it as generic as possible. And again, you can go back and look at the beginning of the series and take a look at the introductory parts of this. But I think we'll call it good on this particular chapter. So from the Viejo bench for now, that's all she wrote.